empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Batiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another riveting edition of Society Now, where we endeavor to bring you content that inspires and excites and ignites conversation. My name is Kira Laws, and you can follow me at The Modern Day Cindy on Instagram. That's Cindy with an I, not a Y, and I have my handsome co-host with me today.
I'm living my best life.
Oh, my God. He's
Ain't
not
going back and forth with you.
You kill
people.
us.
What's going on? This your man, Kaylin Laws, aka Senor Wapo. We living our best life here at Society Now on thesphere.tv. We appreciate you tuning in. Do me a favor and go to all social media outlets and hit like, hit subscribe, hit follow. SENORGUAPO 713. That's Senor Wapo 713. Get at me. How are you, baby?
I almost had the case of the Mondays. Y'all know the case of the Mondays, but I'm pushing through because we only got a few more hours in this day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness, push through with the case of the Mondays.
Push through.
So we're gonna work through Monday and keep it going.
We're gonna keep it pushing.
So I know this is old news, but it's worth the conversation because it's a discussion about what happens when people are outed for doing wrong. So in this situation, we have the Papa John's thing. Now, we were talking about Papa John's on and off for the past year. It's first started off at the beginning of the school year, at the beginning of the season.
See where your mind is.
Yeah, Lord Jesus.
Emails right before
listen,
the show
all
started.
in a classroom somewhere. It started at the beginning of the NFL season, and actually this year, we looked at the NFL protests and everyone taking a knee this year, and of course, the man Papa John, the real Papa John, he had some words to say that didn't settle well with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, in recent times, he had made some negative comments that, of course, also did not set well with people, and he was on record by saying the N-word, and it didn't go well. Well, this board responded, and they ousted him, and he countered that with a lawsuit. Now, I know we're living in different times, and I know a lot of people, think that it's not that serious. Papa John's has gone through a lot of, they've lost a lot. Because you think about Papa John's, some of these pizza places are places that, support schools and things like that, athletic clubs. They usually have, points
Right.
or, they order in big quantities and they get specials and things like that. And they said that Papa John's as a company has suffered a lot because of some of this negative publicity. And so in this suit, the representation from the company was like, this is a waste of resources. It's needless and wasteful. They don't think that he has any merit to bring a suit against them for pretty much telling him he needs to sit down. What are your thoughts on that? Because, this is not the first occurrence, right? Okay.
And so for me, because this is not the first occurrence, he does need to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
He does. It's time to, you still remain. I don't know what his equity share is and all of that. I don't know the business logistics of it, but you still remain who you are in terms of profiting from it, in terms of because it's your company, you started it, et cetera, and you deserve all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of you being the face and the front, and don't you put that ship to sail.
And I think
you know what I'm saying. And the board is right. They're trying to protect the company.
And then it goes to a conversation like I talk about this with you all the time about when you're the representation or the face of a brand, and you're highly visible because you've been in commercials. Like people know who you are. It wasn't like people did not know who the brand was, right? People didn't know that you were the owner or you were, So when you have that type of visibility, your representation has to be such that it's the equivalent of me working at a company, and when I leave my job and I still have my work shirt on that has the company name on it, and I wild out on somebody at a store, that's not, that's
it's going to reflect to the company.
It reflects the company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing that happened. I think we reported a couple weeks ago where the guy was cussing at the man, followed him home and went off on him, but everyone saw the video and contacted his employer, and now the guy's crying like, oh my God, I don't have a job anymore. I'm like, well, dude, you did that you were representing your company when you did that. When you went off the handles, you were representing your company. And so that's something people need to take a note of. Like, yes, you are an individual, but when you work for someone or you represent an organization, their expectation is such that you're going to always represent them in the best light possible. And so we just need to keep that in mind, right?
We do. We absolutely need to keep that in mind. We are guilty by association and affiliation, period. True. Guilty in a good way and or a negative way.
True.
And so he helped build this company from the ground up. People associate his face, his voice, his look with Papa John.
Yeah.
And so everything that he does is going to be reflection on the company. And I think that's very wise and very smart for his board to give that recommendation. Yeah. I really do. Because it's to protect the company.
And I mean, and like I said, it's a word to the wise for everyone. I mean, we're just seeing a lot of this happen where, someone does something in what they consider to be personal or conversational, and they don't think it's that serious, and it gets back to someone else and it becomes that serious. Like, so we're just living in a highly I don't want to say quote. I don't want to call it sensitive, because sensitive sometimes devalues it when people say sensitive.
Aware,
but we're hyper aware. Thank you. We're hyper aware of what's happening and how people are internalizing it, and we have to be cognizant of what we say and how our actions do affect other people, because people are really walking around very uncomfortable right now. So we just be hyper aware. Totally. Another thing. Okay, so Kanye West. Okay, so there's two things that happened with Kanye in the past week. Of course, Kanye is always great for discussion because he's such a colorful person, right? Kanye,
in living color,
he's colorful. So last week he was on Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel pretty much was like, hey, Kanye, had this conversation about his admiration for Donald Trump. And Kimmel pretty much said, well, you are the person that famously said that George Bush did not like black people. You made it a point to say that in the middle of something that most people, people around the world heard about this comment. He was like, what makes Donald Trump any different? What is your stance on this?
Put the camera on me.
He definitely had that look. He definitely had this pensive look on his face, and he could not respond. And at the time, then Jimmy Kimmel cut to break, and was like, let's take a commercial break.
Because you need to think about this, bro.
But this is, I think there's two things I can say about that. There's one thing, it's good to be reflective and thoughtful about what you're going to say next, knowing that everyone's watching what you're going to say. Like, people are literally hanging on what your next word is going to say. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's interesting that sometimes we're seeing, especially when we kind of look back at what's been going on with Kanye this year, there's a lot of things that people put back in his plate or in his lap that he hasn't even considered. Yeah. And it looked like he had not considered it from that perspective. Like, what would make this any different from anything else that has been said? And so it's interesting to see that. It's interesting to see how his response was not reflective of someone who could actually talk about or take a quick response to it. He couldn't have a stance about it. So it's interesting to see how his response was silent. It was like dead silence. Today he struck back on Twitter and was like, hey, I think I hear people are talking about the fact that I didn't have anything to say, but I feel like, it was pretty much a setup. Not really, he didn't say setup, but pretty much he feels like he didn't have an opportunity because they cut to commercial too quickly. Well, everyone knows that on air, you can't have too much dead, white noise. You can't have silence. It just looks bad. It sounds bad. I mean, even when we're here, like too much silence, we have to fill the air with something. It just seems like you're just not prepared. And so I don't necessarily know. I don't know if we agree that he feels like it was a setup because they cut the commercial right when the question was asked, but it wasn't right when. He did have time to think.
Yeah, he did have time to think. And it's just, look, he's just trying to make an excuse for it. But so for me, it's nothing wrong for having time to think because he asked him a serious question that potentially required some thought. I think that media training should kick in and he should say, you know what, Jimmy, wow, that's an interesting question. I really have to think on that. And then that doesn't give the awkward. You see what I'm saying? But that's just media training 101. You don't leave the dead space because you allow the viewer or the listener to make an assumption, and then the producers have to do something. They got to cut it off. Now you mad because you feel like the network made you look odd. It wasn't the case at all, bro. You were thinking there was dead space. You had to move on. I mean,
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but again, that just lets you know where we are, and people are always watching.
Yeah,
right?
Always watching and forming opinions.
Watching and forming opinions. This is another thing that happens with Kanye. We just found out about this just now. Kanye just dropped a new song.
Come on, man.
That people are finding curious because it's not called Ecstasy. It's called XCTY.
Yeah.
XCTY. I don't know.
XCTY.
And it is based upon. Well, I'm not gonna say based upon, but in the song, he's referencing wanting to have sexual relations with his wife's sisters. Now, we don't necessarily know if that's him wordsmithing it, him being, using some ingenious type of wittiness, but this is what it is. And they said a lot of this came from just, it's funny how we live in this age where everything happens so quickly. This happened apparently right after Kylie's birthday party or something like that. Now, Kylie's birthday party, she just turned 21 a couple of days ago. So they're saying he dropped the song, and the picture that she posted on Instagram is supposed to be the picture of the single, which is all of the sisters together with the exception of Chloe and Chris, and the mom Chris.
Yeah, mom Chris.
So that's supposed to be the picture, but it's supposed to be just Kim, Kylie, Courtney, and Kendall. I'm not sure, but it's just interesting that he would make a song like that. And I think it's okay for him to reference the fact that his wife's sisters are beautiful, but I think the sex part might be going too far.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I haven't heard the track.
I haven't either, so I can't really make a judgment on it.
Definitely gonna go and see what he's talking about on the track to be able to speak to it a little further. But the fact that this isn't even a conversation. I mean, yes, your in-laws are beautiful. Everybody knows that. But that's weird. If this is really the case, according to what the articles are saying, it just further gives further credence to the idea that he needs some interventions medically or socially. You know what I'm saying? It's very interesting.
I mean, he got the money for it.
He got the money for it.
He probably got it in his budget.
Yeah, and I wish I had that kind of budget. That kind of budget. You know what that kind of budget would make me do?
What would
it would make me smile. In fact, this portion of the show is sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We are committed to the finest possible oral care and the overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they are a part of our family. Dentistry can be scary. It can be daunting. It can be uncomfortable. Dr. Batiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort and make your appointment today with Dr. Asandra Batiste at Elite Dental Wellness by calling 713-789-8680. Elite Dental Wellness.
Come on with the bling teeth.
Bling teeth so shiny they make a noise.
Bling. I mean, I think that's important. That's really important. I like that. Now, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that's happening that makes me smile, but there's some things that really make me just really grit my teeth, and then this is out of frustration, right? So I was reading in the news, and I wasn't aware of this, and we all know that government, politics, organizational planning, all of that can come with some, conversations that, in the background of people are just not aware of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just read recently that Cynthia Nixon's wife apparently plotted at some point, maybe a couple of years ago, to stop Jennifer Hudson performing at this charter school. But part of her beef was about not necessarily Jennifer Hudson, but the person who actually was, I guess, for this city planning or for this school education bill or something that was going on. And so Nixon's wife and de Blasio, I think it was.
Bill de Blasio, yeah.
Were at odds about this. So what do you think about that? When we talk about, like, in terms of education, I know you talk about a lot about things on radio.
Right.
But when you talk about education, how do persons like a Hudson or even regular people get caught in the crosshairs when we talk about schools and funding and things like that? How does that happen?
Well, it happens simply because, so particularly with this case, it's about getting charter school funding, and charter schools are, for all intents and purposes, are kind of antithetical or enemies to public schools simply because they have different regulations. They can raise more money. They have more freedom to do with their money what they want versus a compulsory government ran school. And so oftentimes celebrities, people of means and notoriety attach themselves to these causes, to these schools to promote them, and so they get caught in the crosshairs just because of their celebrity. So I think that's kind of the case with this charter school. They were saying that they were trying to make a case and try to talk bad about the charter school and about the administration and what's going on to Jennifer and to Jennifer's camp, so that she would not perform, because they know that with Jennifer Hudson performing, she's going to bring her audience with her. She's going to bring potentially those persons that support her would support what she's doing. They would view this as an initiative that they want to get behind because her fans do. And so they were trying to, cut that off at the head, because you can't necessarily go to the organization and badmouth them. That's slanderous. You can't put it in writing. That's libelous. And so they're going to go and try to go behind their backs. And this happens quite frequently, because I've known that this happened here in Houston with some charter schools and some professional athletes that will remain nameless. But some people went to them and said, no, don't do this because these persons do this, or they supported this person, or in their past they had this allegation, et cetera, et cetera. And so people are just really trying to hedge off their audience, so to speak. It sucks because instead of going about it an ethical way. In grad school, I studied ethics. Tough. You did too, Kira. And it's one of those things that I really believe in doing things ethically. And I'm human. I've done things unethically in my past as well. But I think there's a time when you have to serve children and when you have to serve the public, you have to look at ethics as doing things ethically and morally correct as a standard. And I just don't think that was the way to go. And additionally, when we talk about ethics and morals, listen, it's hard to talk about ethics and morals and not talk about the most unethical and immoral president of my lifetime. I can't say of all presidents, because I have only been around for. Amen and amen again. Boo. Boo to. I'm not going to boo him as a man, because I don't know him, and I think that's unfair. But I'm going to boo his policies. I'm going to boo his presidency. I'm going to boo what he's been doing since he's been in office. I'm going to boo how he got into office. I'm going to boo how he campaigned. I'm just going to boo all of that. So, but I got another reason to boo again, and he has renewed yet again his attack on the NFL. We're coming up. The gas was great. I love it. That was a new one. So he has renewed his attack on the NFL, calling for suspensions. Now, it's specifically, and I forget in what article of the Constitution, but it specifically talks about, or it may not be an article, but there's a policy, let me just say it like that, that talks about the president cannot use his office to influence private industry, right? He just can't. That's like, it's pretty much illegal. And so for him to call on for suspensions again is doing that. For him to say, get that son of a out of there, that's influence. And this is what they did. This is what the NFL did. This is what the good old boys, the Billionaire Boys Club, of which he's been a member of for some time. They responded. So, I'm over this. I think that it's, you have to remember that our current celebrity in chief he's a listen, you got to give him credit in some things. He's a mastermind in smoke and mirrors. We got a midterm elections coming up in just over 2 months. Republicans aren't doing well in any state. They're not doing well nationally. He's the leader of the Republican Party. De facto, every president is the leader of their party, whatever party they ran against, and with him saying the NFL players are at it again, because they knelt and they protested. Some of them stayed in the tunnel during the preseason last Sunday. It's untenable. It's Trump-ish, it's Trump-like, but he's at it again. And I tell you, somebody needs to call him. I need some legal analyst. I'm gonna call on my sister that I ain't never met, but she my sister in the struggle. I'm gonna call on Angela Rye. I'm gonna call on Tamika Mallory. I'm gonna call on a lot of our folks to say, I'm gonna call on, and to reclaim our time and to reclaim all of this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna call on Mama Maxine. Somebody to call this cat out on this, because he cannot. It is written policy. He cannot use his office and to influence a private industry. He just can't, and that's what's happening right now. So we got to keep that going on. And then he not only did he attack the NFL, but he attacked his former homegirl, Omarosa. I kind of feel bad. Before we get into it, I kind of feel bad for Omarosa. I don't want to boo her because I did at one point, but I don't want to boo her anymore. She don't, she's trying to figure out who loved her and who got her back, because her mentor that she's so vehemently and ardently praised and lauded for so long. She says now that, she in her book that she's heard him, she was heard. She heard that she didn't hear, but she overheard people say that he used the N-word and he used it, more than once and quite frequently. And so she released a statement to that effect. And Trump fired it. Listen, Trump got a loaded gun. He ready to fire back. So he fired back and called her a lowlife. I mean, listen, shots. And he fired. I love our producer. He fired back, man. And so, the secret tapes were released. And he goes to Twitter and gets the Twitter fingers, and he shoots his shot. And his shots can be deadly. So we have to really, we have to really watch this as well, because this is someone who claims to have known him very well. She was on The Apprentice in 2005 or something like that, like a long time ago. And he's been her mentor. These are the words out of her mouth. I'm not sure if that was really the case, or if she was giving that gas, that premium unleaded, but she's been his mentor. So we gotta watch it, man. We gotta pay attention to this, because this could get salacious. Get your popcorn out. You understand? And watch and pray for Omarosa, y'all. Y'all got to pray for her. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Bless Omarosa, so she can have friends again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that everybody needs somebody sometime. What? So we got to keep that going and keep watching this. And I want to talk to those who are watching right now, our Facebook Live friends. We appreciate y'all so much. We love y'all. We want to ask y'all to subscribe to our show and tell your friends to do so as well. And because we're on all the major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Review our show in iTunes with constructive feedback. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and your friends. And don't forget to donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate at www.thesphere.tv/donate. I tell you, Facebook Live is really giving me the business talk about, because I said Amaretto. I called her. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to butcher her name. Mike, you are funny. Tess, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you catch the rest of the episode once it goes live. In order to do that, you have to click subscribe. See you soon. But yeah, y'all gotta pray for her. Y'all really do gotta look out for Omarosa, because things can get really ugly. I don't care if you don't like the president or not, and I really don't like his presidency. He has power, he has pull, he can in effect ruin lives because of his financial means, number one, and also because of his political means. Now, he's the most powerful person on earth, and so I don't want to see anybody's life ruined, so to speak. I think people should pay. There are consequences to your actions, right? But I don't want to see her life ruined. So just keep her lifted. You know what I'm saying, as they say in church. Just pray for her, y'all. Y'all just gotta pray for her. Let's keep it moving though. John David Washington says men in Ku Klux Klan hoods made him nervous while filming Black Klansmen. Now, I don't know if you've heard about Black Klansmen. Our brother, our friend, our homeboy, Brother Spike Lee. More power to you. Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever. I can go on and on and on. School Days. He has released a new film called Black Klansman, and it's I haven't seen it yet, so you don't have to worry about any spoilers. But I'm trying to figure out, is it slightly, a slight parody? But anyway, I think it's kind of making a mockery, so to speak, and understanding what happened in the Ku Klux Klan. Well, John David Washington is he's the star, right, Kira, of the movie. And, he has said that, cats were, some Klansmen, y'all gotta love live TV. Some Klansmen, were at the filming. They were there and kind of making him a little nervous, trying to intimidate him. What do you think about that intimidation tactic, Kira?
Well, it's unfortunate because when you think about, of course, he went there for work. That's work for him. He's in character doing whatever he has to do. And I think that, that just goes to show you that we're not that far removed from a time where people dressed up, sheets and no sheets, just the name itself makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so we're that's where we are. We're in a place, in a time where, that doesn't go away. I don't think we're that far removed from it. I think we're always going to be considering what happens when you are knowingly confronted with someone from that particular type of organization.
Yeah.
Just like any, outright or whatever it's called. When you know that you're dealing with that, it really does make you uncomfortable. It really does. I think it definitely makes people feel like they may not have control of what happens next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's unfortunate because, again, he's an actor. He was at work. Uh-huh. You know what I mean?
And it also shows that no one is exempt because he's royal. He's from a royal family of acting. This is Denzel's son. You see what I'm saying? He's not. So no one. Denzel is an actor's actor. He's he's the guy, one of the black guys, the black men, one of the few black men in Hollywood that's commanding $20-30 million a movie. Can if he should he push that because they're going to do well in the box office. That and so John David Washington has went to Morehouse, played football, got into acting, and has done well for himself, and he's still getting intimidated. So you're not even no one is exempt.
So let me clarify. He said that the actors that were walking around with the Klansman clothes on were making him uncomfortable. It's not like a Klansman came to the set. These are actors that came
my apologies.
Walking around. He was like, that made him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just to think
that
about
symbolism.
The symbolism is so heavy. It's so heavy, and that people can't I know you're acting.
I probably would freak out too.
That's kind of like going into. Everybody's not scared of this, but going to a haunted house. I know that under the haunted house, under the costumes, those are people. But some, give me on the wrong day, I'm not comfortable with it. Like it's certain things that I'm just not comfortable with. I don't want to see you dressed up like the Scream person or a zombie or anything like that.
I got banned from a haunted house in high school because that happened.
Because you cut up.
Because they caught that right hook.
The devil won that day.
The devil won. He did. The devil won. He did. Shout out to Darren Douglas.
Shout out to Darren Douglas. Shout out. That is so funny. Okay, now this is interesting too. And we talk about really let's talk about this. I want to talk about this Klansman one more thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
What the psychological, and I really wish we're gonna have her back on the show, but the psychological barrier that exists in our mind, or not even a barrier, but it really is. It's trauma. It's trauma.
Yeah.
And and this is going back to, I think we talked about generational trauma, because many of us have never, right, never have experienced that, right? But we can definitely empathize,
because it was passed down to us.
It was passed down, like that deep hurt was passed down about what that might feel like, and having someone and it, you know, having the N-word in songs doesn't necessarily desensitize you to it, because you know when it's being spat at you vehemently, right? You know when it's in a negative context. So that argument about, well, you hear people call you negative words all the time, but it's something about a negative word. You talk about, you know, crosses and burning things and
there's
homes
context.
And the context.
There's weight with all of that.
You know, how people treat you, you know, will they treat you respectfully? You know, and so it's just interesting to see how it all really just comes together. Again, and I totally can identify what he's saying in terms of feeling really uncomfortable if I was encountered with something like that, regardless if it was real or not, because it's just not something.
I remember being, and I told you about this, I remember being in a social environment, social event, where I was the only black guy, right? And Lil Wayne came on, and and all of a sudden, nigga this and nigga that, nigga this, and I just had to sit back for a minute.
Like, why is this happening?
Because
right now?
I was like,
I'm here.
Not only am I here, but y'all really don't realize how uncomfortable this is for me. On the flip side, though, I oftentimes think after that experience, because, you know, to be quite frank, you know, I'm a black man in America. That word has definitely come out of my mouth. It you know, just raised in that culture, and so. But after that experience, it has now, you know, kind of pushed me on the other side. Like, wow, how uncomfortable are non-blacks, or when I say that word,
like,
you see what I'm saying?
Are you complacent in that?
Yeah, exactly. Complicit. Yeah.
Complicit in
you know,
that.
and so it's a very, very interesting paradigm, because I'm just picturing myself go to work in 3rd Ward, Texas, and students come, you know, to do something about some Black History program or something, and it's like I walk in, and it's like 30 people in white sheets. I'm probably gonna be like, yeah, this is a little much for me. I'm not sure how I can deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, after, y'all done seen. Okay, y'all can take those off now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kind of like.
I think it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's a lot to digest. And like you said, you have to start wondering, are you a part of the problem?
In another way. Yeah.
In another way. I mean, we've had this conversation several times. Like, are you part of? Are we contributing to the issues by not correcting one another when we hear someone that looks like us use that word so loosely, and then go to the argument of, well, you can't use it if you're not, you know, like, there is really, I mean,
the double standard is so interesting.
That's what makes it so, you know, it's very hard to conceptualize from another person's perception. Like, well, if it's really just a word, you know, why do you hold it to such high esteem, right? Why does it have so much value?
Right.
Because you say it's negative when I say it, but it's okay when you say it. Like, how can two be the same? It's kind of like chocolate and devil food cake.
Huh? Wait, what? Are you hungry? Wait,
no,
hold on, time out.
I love chocolate, but the fact that it's called devil's food cake, like, it's like, you know, like
I'm so lost. I mean, I get it, but I'm so out of that field.
I just had to throw that. I just wanted to say it, but no, it's one of those things when you think about how things are so crazy. Like, how can something that's so beloved also be negative in the same way? Like, how could it be such that you can't appreciate it and want it from one person but love it from another person? It's so crazy.
Yeah, it is, man.
And speaking of craziness, that we're trying to rectify in homes,
fix it, Jesus.
Fix the finances. And this is why this portion of the show is sponsored by the Houston Housewives of Finance. Did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33%, or more than 77 million of Americans, don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month, and 39% of adults say they don't have enough savings. Don't become one of these statistics. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4453 It was 4463, or email us at info@HoustonHousewivesOfFinance.com. Again, that number is 1-844-700-4463, or email us at info@HoustonHousewivesOfFinance.com. Ask us how you can participate in a complimentary financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finance are the new faces of the new age of financial services. I love that. That's great. Come on, y'all. That's great. I love it. Let's get our houses in order by getting our finances in order. Yay. Okay, now let's talk about something that I think is interesting. And I know we had a real cool guest last week, which was Great House on, and we really didn't get to kind of dive into his background as being biracial or very, he multiracial, because he said he doesn't claim one or the other. It's a multifaceted with him. There is also this conversation about when you are passing, what does that look like for you? So Halsey slams critics who called her natural hair a wig. So she is a black woman, but she passes. She would be like the living version of imitation of life, right? And so when her hair is straightened and she's walking around, people she assume that she is a white woman, but she's actually black. And she's told people time and time again she's black. But apparently recently she took to Instagram or Twitter and posted a picture of herself with her hair in her natural, and it looked, not as not as straight as it normally looks. It actually was very curly, and the curl that normally people are not used to seeing, and people have pretty much had a hard time understanding that she really is a black woman. And it's interesting how the texture of our hair is such a conversation for so many people. I remember, it's so funny because as a black woman, I love wavy, curly hair that has, coils in it. I think it's all beautiful. It's interesting how when you go to the workplace in certain places, they want you to straighten your hair. Like, the straighter it is, the better it is. And it's really, I'm like, it's really crazy. It's really crazy that that's the conversation. Like, you won't accept my hair, no matter how long or short it is, if it's not as straight. I used to think that, and maybe it's just in our community, that wavy, curly, whatever is exotic. Because I used to think like wavy, curly, exotic, that's what's up. But in the workplace or in different settings, depending on, especially if you're not with people of color, the straighter your hair is, it seems like the more accepted you are. And I think that's interesting. I don't necessarily know. I in my experience working, I remember I had a conversation a few times with some people about hair. And I would stop the conversation before it would go too far, because I was like, I don't want this conversation to get awkward, not necessarily for me, but for the other person, because of my responses. But, having to have conversations about what do you put on it? How did it get that way? Like, my hair grows out of my scalp the same way everyone's hair goes out their scalp. And we're trying to deal with it the best way we can. And here's a note. All black people's hair is not the same. Okay. So we don't all have the same texture of hair. And that goes to the fact that many of us are from different places, our origins, our roots. So yes, we are black and we identify with one another, but a lot of us are, came from different places. I mean, if you do ancestry.com, many black people are mixed. We just not light, we just not light. With some of us, all of us are not, we might all have come from Africa, but throughout that transition, and some of us have some Euro roots, some of them have more, South American roots, but we all don't look alike. All of our hair is not the same. And trust me, we really don't want to have to answer questions of why we change our hair so much. And when you are dealing with someone that identifies as black, no matter how light they are, please don't give them a hard time about the texture of their natural hair by calling it a wig. We got to do better. We got to do better. I mean, it's offensive. It really is offensive. We got to do better. We don't have to keep defending our hair. So it's crazy. So we need to do better, people. Okay. Now, I think this is interesting. And I don't know. I think this is something that the conversation is just, it tells you where we are with our smart technology. There is now a birth control app for natural cycles that just got FDA approval that apparently allows you to check. Now, Caitlin's gonna have to tell me a little bit more about it because he read more about it and I'm trying to figure out why. But it allows you to check, I guess, how your body is functioning and to see if.
So what it is the app actually measures the basal temperature.
Okay.
Remember when you were pregnant? It wasn't too long ago.
Well, I didn't have to. Thank God I didn't have to do my basal temperature this time. But before eating, yes.
Yeah. And so it's a more accurate indication of your temperature inside of your body for the baby.
So fertility.
For fertility, and so this, it doesn't mean your apps out there, right? I mean, they really helped us during both your pregnancies. How to track things and to count your ovulation days, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this one actually has the government. So the government seal of approval, so to speak, from the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because the FDA is not the most reliable source in terms of safety, in terms of best thing. Well, I mean, think about it. Think about all of the things that the FDA approves that are terrible for us. Think about, I don't know, high fructose corn syrup.
That's true.
Think about aspartame.
Oh,
right?
all that.
Think
fake
about
sugar.
Yeah, think about cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
There's literally rat poison in there.
Rat poison.
So it's kind of a double whammy that I did this. It's groundbreaking in that they being the Food and Drug Administration, aka the FDA, has put their stamp of approval on it. But at the same time, I don't fully trust them.
Okay.
Considering all the health complications that beef can cause. But we still have GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Considering how the FDA has allowed gluten to be put in all kinds of food. Gluten isn't naturally occurring. It is a preservative, but it screws up everybody's allergies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
So it's one of those things where I wonder, again, not trying to poo on this app because it might be phenomenal. It's just a cautionary tale, word to the wise that just because the government says this is good, thumbs up, don't necessarily mean this is. I mean, remember, slavery was good at one time. Was that a reach?
That was a reach.
I'm sorry.
But but it really wasn't a reach. Let me tell you why it's not a reach. It's not a reach because you're absolutely correct. There have been times in our history as a country, we have said a lot of things were good and we came backtracked. It was like, actually, no, that was not good. Bad.
Women being able to vote, being able to vote was amazing until the 60s. What?
Yeah. So
the 60s.
And then of course I know we were watching something yesterday and knowing that those little ID chips are real.
Yeah, RFID,
like, and I'm like, but why would you want to do something like that? Why would you want to put something in your body and tell people that it's no risk? There's always a risk.
Legally, you can put those in your children.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
I know, I'm saying that's just crazy.
Yeah, because but
the FDA approves it.
Okay, exactly. Putting technology inside of you, that's like, to me, that's okay. That goes back to why we keep visiting the moon, like why we keep going out of space. Like, what's happening that we putting chips in our body? Like, are we actually the robots?
That's some mark of the beast type stuff, in my opinion. But anyway,
I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to talk about it. See, this is where my little Klansman thing goes off, because when we start talking about stuff like marks or whatever, and chips in your arm, and sending your people out of them, we're gonna take these little airboats to go visit these $1 million trips out of the solar system and all this stuff. I don't want to do any of that.
Random fact: I want everybody listening and watching to Google Vera chip, VERACHIP.
I'm so
Vera
scared.
chip. The serial number for all Vera chips start with 666.
Yep. So let's talk about something else. Yep. That's where.
I'm serious.
That's what I'm talking about. Some of the stuff, some things aren't necessarily, good for you. It may seem like they selling. Figure out why they selling stuff.
I love it.
But I don't think all technology is not good. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that some of these cell phones have face recognition, like
Domino's, all money ain't good money.
yeah, like why do we have face recognition on the phone, and where are you storing it at? What is the cloud? Like, we still haven't answered that question.
Don't know what the cloud is.
What is the cloud?
Somebody email, DM me, Senor Wapo 713, and let me know what the cloud is. Somebody listen to IT. Where give me its location. Is it Cumulus? Is it
Stratus?
Is it Stratus? Is it Nimbus? Tell me what kind of cloud. What's
Cirrus
the cloud?
cloud?
Yeah.
Cirrus. Okay. Now let's talk about this, and I want to. This video, when I saw it, really upset me so much. I saw on my feed this weekend a black police officer from Baltimore literally beating down another black man. Now, if you see the beginning of the video, the black man didn't do anything to him but just raise his voice. This type of assault is problematic, and this is why there's a lot of discussion about what we call black on black, or what's been called black on black violence. And it stems from this. It stems from this. What was this necessary? No. This officer put in his resignation, but nothing that happened at the beginning of the video was worthy of this. The form of aggression that was put out on that man was not necessary. Like, I don't necessarily know if he was having a bad day, but in a time where everybody is recording, in a time where everyone's cell phones are out, was that necessary? Why were you so upset that you had to take a hit? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
why your level of you didn't meet him with the same level. You know what I mean? Like, what was happening that you had to respond like that? Like,
yeah. So I did a little digging, and so from what I can understand, the victim, the civilian, allegedly assaulted that officer, and he's fighting charges in court. So I don't know if the officer freaked out when he saw him or whatnot. But I do know that at the beginning of the video, when you showed it to me, literally all the victims, he just kind of reached his hand back and said, "Yell like what?" And, yell
like was like what what you doing this to me for?
But he posed no threat,
right?
And the officer just he meleeed him, and he
and kept going,
broke his jaw, broke his nose, broke some ribs. And so the department was going to be out of millions of dollars at this point, because it is clear the fact that he resigned is not going to be enough. And it just goes to show, if you're watching, as the video said, that there has been a tenuous and strained relationship in Baltimore between the public and the PD out the BPD. Like, there is so volatile.
But he could have died.
He could have. The way he beat him, he hit him. The guy,
And why was the other cop like, "What were you doing, bro?"
Yeah. To me, he just is complicit, because
you could have just
he could have grabbed his homeboy. His
all the dude was trying to do was getting away. He was like, "Let me get away from this man beating me." He wasn't trying to. He didn't swing back at him. Yeah. I'm like, at this, like, it. It's hard. It's hard enough to watch when it's a black person and a non-black person, a non-person of color, or any person of color with a person of color. It's hard to watch that.
Yeah.
It's even more gut-wrenching when you see two people of color like that, and especially if one is not responding in the same form. Like, so for that officer to beat on that man like that, my heart, I'm like, this is why we have a cycle, like you said, a cycle of distrust in our communities for officers. And this is why also that form of aggression is usually repeated and cycled back into our communities against one another, because it comes from the top down, right? So we don't see it in areas where we're supposed to respect people, and it just cycles back, and it becomes very hard for persons in the community.
It was really interesting. One comment that I saw under when Pastor Dr. Jamal Bryant posted it. I'm guessing it was an officer. This officer said he was wrong, but I understand. So that relationship with the between the police and the public in Baltimore is it's rough. And it's been advertised as such for so long. But maybe you need to advertise yourself, your business. Well, this portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. You could be looking for a place to get people to know your products. Do you have need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand and sell everything you have? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube, Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the U.S. as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. One last story that I think that's really, really troublesome as well is there was a young lady who was inside of Staples, minding her business, going about, probably, one would assume trying to get some, office supplies, trying to get some back to school supplies for her kids. Schools are starting all across the country. And she was pregnant. And y'all, I mean, very pregnant. I mean, sister was pregnant. And, when a woman is pregnant, of course, she was in her last trimester. So she, 7th, 8th, 9th month, knocking on 40 weeks. And everything swells. Ankles swell, legs swell, potentially, of course, the tummy is swollen, breasts swell, all of that. And so you look, you're larger. Well, she was minding her business, just shopping, doing as consumers tend to do. And she was approached by a manager. And the manager or an employee, a cop rather. And she was asked, "What do you have under your shirt?" And she was like, "What? What do you mean? What do you have under your shirt? What are you hiding? What are you stealing? What do you mean? What am I stealing? I'm pregnant." And so it got to the point where she lifted her shirt up to show her tummy that she was pregnant and with child, with twins, no less. And so this is an amazing thing. But now there's a hashtag called shopping while black and pregnant. The fact that you would question a pregnant woman being pregnant. Now I know that you can have prosthetic stomachs and all that, and the cop's response was, "Well, we've had a rash of robberies," and I'm glad. It's weird because I'm glad the woman was comfortable enough to show her stomach like that, but because had she not have, who knows how that could have escalated given the times we're in. But also it sucks that she had to show her stomach like that. You know what I'm saying? Like in order to prove that she was pregnant when she clearly looked pregnant, like what a pregnant woman looks like, right? And so it's yet another level of just a reality for minorities in America. You do have those minorities who misrepresent their culture quite significantly, and that is part of it. But I think as an officer, of the law, you shouldn't be jaded to expect that from people, because most people just aren't bad. You know what I'm saying? Most people are just trying to go about their day and then want to get home, and so to do that, I think it's untenable that she had to do that. So it sucks, man. And I'm glad that this sister made it out safely, with her life, with her children's lives, so we're gonna have to stay close to Staples and see how they respond, as well as the Baltimore PD. And we hope that you are responding well to Society Now. Do us a favor though, go to the Modern Day Cindy on Instagram, DM her, let her know what's going on, how you think the show is going. Come holler at me at SeñorWapo713 on Instagram. Let us know what you think about the show. We'd love to interact with you. We love to connect with you and speak more. Send us articles, send us things you want us to talk about. We would love to connect with you and engage even further. This has been an amazing show. I want to thank my wonderful and lovely co-host, the Modern Day Cindy, my baby mama, my wife. I like this, so I put a ring on it. Hey, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today, and I want to thank all of our listeners for doing the same thing. Go to Twitter. Go to Instagram and follow the Modern Day Cindy. That's Cindy with an I, not a Y. And come holler at your boy, SeñorWapo713 on all social media outlets. We'll see you next time.